My name's Tony. I'm doing Spanish with Pat. I've been with Pat for about 3 or 4 years now. I'm loving it. I'm lucky enough to have a property in Spain. So for me, learning Spanish was the right way forward. It's completely changed my life. When going on holiday and when going to stay out there, the reaction from the local speakers or natives is really, really positive. And when they realize that there's an English guy who's made, or person, I should say, who's made an effort to learn their home language, the difference is remarkable. That's it. Yeah, really excited. I love it. I'm addicted to it. I just wish I had more time. My job and my other activities means it's really, really hard to try and put in the homework, which is really annoying because I'm desperate to become, better and better. I'd like to go on and learn another language as well, but I've just got to try and nail down Spanish a bit more. So yeah, thanks, Pat. I really appreciate it. I think the difference, I mean, what Amy and Megs has said is 100%. The difference for me, well, perhaps the other difference, at school you got distractions. You're usually with a load of mates in your class, and I was a nightmare at school for concentration in the right things, or the wrong things now. So that was bad. Also, I want to learn the language now. I really want to, and I don't think I wanted it at school. It was great, but I never wanted it. I think Amy's suggestion about problem solving, I've experienced that. It's amazing. Or Megan, forgive me. When if you don't know a word, use the words that you do know to explain what you want. And that to me is a great skill I think you've taught me, Pat, is how to communicate, how to explain what you want. If you're talking about, isn't the sky not good today? How can you explain it? The air's warm, how do you solve it? And you can get around it. It can be frustrating, but yeah, so that's a great quality. So yeah, and conversation, what Megan said as well, just chatting. I remember our first 3 or 4 lessons, it really was a little bit about getting the basics, but then it was like, right, well, ask me how you are, and then this is how you reply, and then you go back and you go forward. Next minute you're talking about cheese, so I learned queso. The next minute you're talking about, well, I've learned that I want crackers with my cheese, and so you have a whole day on food, which is fantastic. But you know what I'm trying to say. So you just build and build, and you just don't do that at school, not a chance. So it's one-to-one. The fact that the individual, we want to learn it, and getting around using the words that you do know, because we all know a lot of words. It's incredible that just come out there. And I don't know, the most amazing thing as well is if I did French. I didn't do it brilliantly, but I was all right. It's amazing when I can't think of a word in Spanish. Sometimes this French word just flies into my head. I'll never forget stilo, pen. I've not used that since I left school. But I couldn't think of the Spanish word for pen, and then stilo just comes out. So very weird what's in your brain, and if you can and you've helped sort of unlock that with the Spanish words. Anyway, yeah, taxi driver. Just one day, I was sat with a taxi driver coming back from a restaurant, a couple of friends in the back, and I thought, I'm just going to go for this. And so I started speaking to him in Spanish, and he was absolutely gobsmacked. And he said to me, we had this conversation. I was building my sentences as Pat had told me, and I apologized straight away for not being able to speak very good Spanish, but I'm learning it at the moment. And he just freaked out. He said, it's lovely to meet an Englishman who's actually bothering to do this. I got a free taxi. Yeah, which was a result. He didn't charge me. And it started opening my eyes. He said, the Spanish get very frustrated with the way the English, speak to them. They don't make any effort. And he just told me a story of, like, can you imagine me landing at Heathrow and going up to a taxi and asking him if he speaks Spanish, and then, calling him a twit for not being able to speak Spanish, So that was quite a good analogy. So that was that. Then there was Grumpy Waitress. I'll just tell you one more story about Grumpy Waitress, who never spoke to anyone English. It was one of the best restaurant cafes in Spain, overlooking the sea and everything in Spain. Sorry, in the area I live, probably not in Spain. Bit of exaggeration, but overlooking the area where I live, overlooking the sea and the sand. And we had grumpy waitress. No one had ever spoken to her before, and she hated us all. It was like a faulty tales conversation. But I asked for my bill in Spanish, and then I asked her if I could pay by card in Spanish or did she want cash, and she smiled. And everyone just freaked out, and she spoke. She says, "Yeah, I just hate the English, to be honest. I don't like foreigners. I'm working here because I need to get my kids through school. But anyone who speaks Spanish to me, love it. I think it's polite, and that's the way I am." And yeah, that was quite interesting listening to that as well. Maybe not the best stories, Pat, but it just shows you some of the insight that you get from native speakers, and their feelings coming out as well. And yeah, it's mind-blowing. It really is.